Man, I love. Oh, fuck. Mierda la madre de Dios. Whoops on that one. Hola, what's up, Fire Mango? How you doing? Do I look physically fat yet? I'm a little heavier, but you know, a little chubbier feeling, but that's about it. Oh, I love this one. I fucking love this. God, I love this one. More human than human? Dude, it's so good. Fire Mango. Bit rounder in the cheeks. Yeah. What's down here doesn't translate too well to what's up here, does it? I just have one of those really, like, one of those faces made out of stone. You're moving like disco still in style. Fuck you mean? Disco is still in style, boy. Oh, I remember dancing as a youth at the prom. Just aggressively swiveling at the camera. Oh shit. Well, my son went to his mom's tonight, so you know, there's that. But yeah, disco is still in style. It will always be in style. Fire Mango, brother schmoving. Schmoving? Schmoving! Okay, I get it. I'm gonna make a gif out of that. Okay, well, have fun. If it's as good as the last one, last thing you made, I mean, doodle doo doo, doodle doo doo, doodle doo doo. God, I love it though. There we go. Anyway, back to the music.
I was live. We still schmoovin'?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I love this one.
What?
White Bat Audio, one of the best there is.
Yeah, true. He's a goat, as they would say. I sent a video in chat there, and I think you would like it, but the problem is I think you've already seen it, or like the guy who's made it, but if you haven't, it's worth a while.
God, these are my jams, man.
it Jim your James, Flim your Flams?
Indeed. It helps me squanch, too. Because it brings me back to my youth, you know. They were doing disco still when I was in high school.
Yeah, back in the 70s.
Disco, synth was just coming up and all that kind of stuff. That, like, you know, stuff like what Carl makes here. Right? That retro arcade style was coming to the fore a little bit. Yeah, the glam rockers. You know, AC/DC was still popping around. Aerosmith was still not very much of anyone at that point in time. Oh, shoot.
Yeah.
I mean,
Aerosmith's been around for ages.
AC/DC was around before Aerosmith.
Yeah, AC/DC lasted forever.
Oh, no, they're still going, too.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's true.
Still go. I saw Angus the other day. I was like, Jesus, man.
Here, you might want to check this out. This might be hype. This might get the views, as the kids would say.
All right, let's look at this.
The issue is, I don't know if you've already seen it. It's kind of the problem. I think you probably have, but
2,000 bugs versus 200 Marines, Starship Troopers with real tactics. I don't think I have seen this, no.
oh, you should totally give it a watch.
Okay, well, let me do the thingies.
Yeah.
Da-na-na-na. Da-na-na-na. Da-na-na-na.
It's a fun one.
All right.
He goes really deep in it as well. So
I do think I've seen CSRC somewhere else.
well, he does videos on this. He's done one for Hoth. He's done the Predator movies. He does Hollywood action films, and he breaks them down. He did most recently could the modern Greek military hold off the Persians from 300. So he does a bunch of stuff like that, you know.
Okay. Well, you know what? Let's check it out then.
Sponsored by War
Of course. I'm gonna skip everybody's ads from now on. Don't care how much I like them.
Thunder.
2,000 alien monsters, one lonely outpost. In Starship Troopers, the mobile infantry fought hard, but they were outnumbered, undergunned, and overrun.
Hello.
But what if this wasn't a movie? What if a present-day military unit had to hold Whiskey Outpost for real? No plot armor, no respawns, just realistic doctrine, and the overwhelming firepower of the military-industrial complex. This
Funny he mentions that because actually, if we unleashed full capacity, and people think Iran is full capacity. If we unleashed full capacity of our armed forces, we make it look like straight up apocalypse to anybody who's on the other end. I mean, movies really don't do it justice. They really don't. There's nothing like seeing a stack of bombers. So you'll have your, you'll have your lighter bombers, right? So like F-16s and all that kind of stuff, like dropping ordnance. That's one thing. Then you get to something like, our bigger bombers. Right? I remember seeing the Stratofortress dropping shit. Just, I mean, you think you've seen it in the movies back then. And I've been close to some testing ranges before that point. When I got to see B-52s dropping their whole load, personally, That's why I became a believer in all those who used to say, you know, a lot of stuff is Hollywoodized. They seem to kind of nerf shit too, really hard. People are like, "Oh my god, this is terrible." It's like, "Oh yeah, well, it was 1,000 times worse in real life." So the whole thing about you know, our modern U.S. military versus like a lot of sci-fi as portrayed in film, we destroy them. Right? Take away if you're doing it as he's saying here, we destroy them. Well, anyway, but yeah, just like
Well, you also have to consider that movies have practical limitations, and so the more effective way to view stuff like this is to look at like novels or stated numbers instead of like individually counting, because they aren't going to CGI 100,000 bugs. You know what I mean?
oh no, yeah, like you know, but even with that, um, the orders of magnitude difference, you know, cinema versus reality is pretty giant. So if we're going
depends.
by if we're going closer to like what it seems like he's going with this, then yeah. Now if you take into account their whole fictional universe and not just movie portrayals and such, then yeah, that'd probably be a different story.
Well, yeah, and he's also not doing like the entire U.S. military. He's doing like a you know, a company level type deal. So about the same number of troops defending Whiskey Outpost as they did in the movie, versus about the same number of bugs. Basically, just pick up all the guys that were there, replace them with Marines, see what happens. With modern military strategy in mind.
They'd be eating some bugs while they were waiting for reinforcements.
Well, there are no reinforcements because it's same parameters as the movie, you know.
Ah, okay. So they'd be
They
eating
got
bug and just
ambushed.
holding out a siege for eternity, essentially.
Well, I know how this ends. You don't, so we'll have to get into it.
Okay. I mean, I'm sure they get whittled down at some point. You know, because they do nerf. Well, anyway,
Well,
they do
a bug
nerf a
takes a
lot
lot
of the
of 5.6 to
characteristics,
drop.
right? So it's like I only expect so much of a emulation of the real thing versus the real
Oh
thing.
no! This guy is counting bullets for individual soldiers. I really don't think you understand what we're in for. This guy does his homework.
Oh, I'm looking
Like,
forward to it. You're hyping it up pretty big here.
I am. You know what? I'll put my money where my mouth is on this one. You know, like I really think this is some peak content right here. I'm surprised you haven't watched this yet.
Okay, well let's go in then, shall we?
This video aims to answer these questions by applying the
Indubitably.
planning tools of military decision making to this infamous sci-fi battle. It will also replace the Roughnecks, the in-film defenders, with an outfit that needs no introduction, the United States Marine Corps. To explore this
Devil
scenario, we will
dog.
first analyse the threat and gain as much information about the enemy as possible. Next, we will deep dive the characteristics and capabilities of our friendly force.
Maybe, you know, if Isekai, yeah. If Isekai is a real thing, I think in my next life, I'll be a Marine. I think that's what I might do next. Because
Gotta
originally
swap
I
out
was
the
gonna.
army.
Well, I mean, I've already done the army, right? So, like, you know, I mean, my soul, if it comes back, you know, I think I'd be a very good devil dog.
Hmm.
And there's a super high chance I would isekai in the United States of America. Now, here's the thing: is that like
Well,
originally I was going to be a Navy SEAL. So I was going to go into the Navy first, but I didn't end up becoming a seaman. But
I got a
anyway,
buddy who's doing that.
oh yeah, becoming a seaman.
Well, a SEAL specifically, they got him in like all that SEAL pre-training stuff,
Oh, okay.
and he's
So
passing
he's
through
probably
everything
going
pretty
to
easily.
he's probably going to, I think it's PSI.
Yeah. I think so.
It might be PSI. No, we're not talking about the pounds per square inch measurement of, air by volume and quantity and all that shit. I know a bunch of my grunts would do that mistake, because they're very smart, but they hate to use their brain. That's why they're grunts. But yeah, like,
That's what we call
brain
being
hurting
clever.
status. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
But
they're
no.
just smart enough to cause trouble.
If I remember correctly, it's like pre-seal or pre-buds or something like that, initiation or something like that. It's whatever.
Yeah.
Like we have our equivalent programs for our Rangers and SF and EOD and all them as well. So it's just a different branch, different kind
Yeah,
of sort of thing.
I guess he flew through everything with flying colors, so they were just like, you're in this, and then after this you're gonna go do basic, and then or whatever it is for the Navy. I forget. I think it's basic as well.
Actually, wait a minute. David recently enlisted in the Air Force, and he's retired too. And he enlisted he re-enlisted to be in the PJs. I believe he's either doing pararescue or AFSOC of some kind. He's going to the Air Force pipeline. But yeah, I'm just like, wait, because David's 42.
Oh, okay.
I only got, there's only a couple extra decades, and I look really good. So, I mean...
Only a couple extra decades, no biggie.
I mean...
Oh, yeah, 20 years. 20 years, not a big deal.
And hey, I can keep the same pace he can for at least 5 miles. Kind of.
See, it's that 6th mile that gets you.
Yeah, the 6th mile, I kind of just start dropping off. Well, because I can't moderate myself very well. I'm trying to go as fast as I possibly can, as hard as I can for as long as I can, and just, forcing all the blood pressure up through my skull. Yeah, that's what I'm doing. Anyway, enough about me and all that other stuff. But yeah, I'm just thinking, like, maybe there's a chance for me. Maybe I can do it still. Maybe. We'll see. Any Jew. Marines, isekai into the next life thingy. Okay, let's go.
And the battle space, to best understand how to emplace our weapon systems and units, before running a simulation on the likely outcome of the battle. To set the scene, here's a recap on the events of the film leading up to the battle. The United Citizen Federation is at war with the Arachnids, a hostile alien species from across the galaxy. After an Arachnid-launched meteor strikes Buenos Aires, Earth declares total war and launches a catastrophic invasion.
Give me a sec. Yes, sir. Gracias, vamos con él. Va contigo. All right.
All right, I'm gonna pop over to the YouTube so I can actually like watch it.
What's
So
up?
I'll be out of the VC for the rest of the stream probably. I'm just gonna go listen to it.
Oh, okay, too easy. I'll be here watching and shit. Wait, I need to get another beer.
I'll be commenting, But yeah. All right.
Yeah, give me a schmeckle, people. Give me a Jewish minute. Haha, funny, because Jew and Jews are cheap and blah, blah, blah. Where is my... There it is. Oh. Because I am back in black. Oh. I need an adult. I am an adult. All right, let's get back into it.
On the bug home planet Lendatho. Not long after, the Roughnecks, a battle-hardened platoon from the mobile infantry, are dispatched to investigate a distress call from Whiskey Outpost, an isolated patrol base on planet P. The Roughnecks arrive to find the garrison slaughtered and are almost immediately set upon by thousands of bugs. With no air support and limited ammunition, the hopelessly outnumbered mobile infantry must hold their position until the extraction dropship arrives. Part 1. Enemy Force Analysis.
Would you like to know more?
A quick disclaimer before we dive in. The 1997 film that features this battle deviates significantly from the original 1959 novel. The Starship Troopers universe also includes video games and comics, which provide additional world building. However, as this analysis is laser focused on Whiskey Outpost, we shall reference the film as the primary source material for the following enemy information. The arachnids, colloquially known as bugs, are an insectoid alien species that operate like a hive, built for war at a biological level. Their physiology varies depending on the subspecies. However, most are armored with a tough exoskeleton and equipped with claws and mandibles that function as both weapons and digging tools. Despite lacking advanced technology or individual intelligence, they are biologically optimized for swarm tactics and can coordinate efforts in the collective pursuit of tactical goals. While lacking a conventional chain of command, their coordination implies some form of strategic control, likely communicated chemically or telepathically. The arachnid species is a brutal adversary. Individual bugs are expendable. They exhibit no cultural or social behavior, and their sole motivation is survival through expansion, aggression, and violence. While the film doesn't detail the arachnid hierarchy, the brain bug is implied to be part of the species' leadership caste. A grotesque, slug-like creature, the brain bug is almost entirely defenseless, however has exceptional intelligence and provides the arachnids the ability to evolve tactics through adaptive learning. It has the gruesome ability to extract human brains through a large proboscis and can temporarily compel its victim into sending verbal messages. Its strategic acumen was displayed on Planet P, as the Battle of Whiskey Outpost was itself an ambush orchestrated by the brain bug to draw in human reinforcements and analyze their tactics. This is explicitly confirmed by Colonel Carl Jenkins, who later reveals that the Roughnecks were deliberately sent into this trap to verify the brain bug's existence. Order of battle. The bulk of the enemy assault force on Planet P consists primarily of warrior bugs. The backbone of the arachnid swarm, warrior bugs are fast, durable, and armed with razor-sharp limbs and mandibles. Warriors operate in massed waves, overwhelming their opponents with speed, aggression, and total disregard for casualties. At first glance from the film, it seems like tens of thousands of warriors are surrounding the outpost, but it's rather misleading due to the digital effects and how large the arachnids are. If we manually count the bugs in this frame, we can see between 350 and 400 warriors swarming the outpost, and that's being generous to the piles of dead bugs already against the wall. This count is consistent across multiple frames, and while it's difficult to ascertain an exact figure from these images, let's assume this volume of bugs is uniform throughout the formation, which we can see thins out towards the rear. Working with this information, we can plausibly assume the 400 figure is repeated fivefold through the surrounding terrain, leading to a final count of approximately 2,000 warrior bugs involved in the attack. While the warrior bugs do the heavy lifting in swarm assaults, other subspecies fulfill specialist roles that supplement offensive capability. The tanker bug is the heavy breacher of the arachnid army.
I'm thinking it's never said how much ammo they have. There's 2,000 bugs. My average combat loadout, right, if I had an automatic weapon, usually I'd carry about 2,000 rounds. 7.62. Yes, on top of all my other stuff I carried too. That's why I weighed almost 500 pounds in full gear. But yeah, like a huge amount of that weight is ammo. And water. And somebody else's ammo. Well, anyway. So I'd have about 2,000 rounds 7.62. And it's armor piercing. Right? So, it's APT. The tungsten whatever. And it's like, And then if I was doing like a rifleman loadout of some kind, or an assaulter kit or whatever they call it nowadays. Well, then, on average, I'd carry about 310 rounds or more. Hell, if I could carry 800 rounds of 5.56, I would. Absolutely so. So I'm thinking if we go off of like an average loadout for me to the number of personnel on site, and let's say it takes like, I don't know, 20 rounds or 10 rounds per bug, you actually don't need a whole lot of ammo, actually, is what it sounds like. Well, anyway, let's continue.
Heavily armoured Leviathan, its immense mass allows it to crush enemies and ram through structures and defensive lines. Its ranged attack is a flamethrower-like spray, capable of melting both flesh and steel out to distances of 50 metres. 5 tanker bugs are shown contributing to the assault in the film. Light, fast, and airborne capable, hopper bugs serve as reconnaissance and harassment units. Functionally warrior bugs with wings, they can leap great distances or fly short bursts, bypassing obstacles and fortifications to strike from above or behind. Although highly mobile, they lack the durability of the ground-based warrior bugs. They are also seemingly spawned in significantly smaller numbers than warriors, so we will use 50 as the planning figure. The arachnid equivalent of long-range artillery, plasma bugs launch high-trajectory bioplasma projectiles capable of destroying starships and fixed positions. Slow-moving and vulnerable at close range, they rely on warrior bugs for close protection. Shown launching plasma bursts into deep space, they also provide an anti-air capability against capital ships in both orbit and the atmosphere. Mission. Compared to a human adversary, the arachnid mission is relatively straightforward. Their tactical goal is to destroy all personnel within Whiskey Outpost, with the commander's intent of the brain bug being to analyse human tactics and procedures in order to adapt future arachnid operations to the threat. Arguably the most important part of enemy analysis, accurately assessing the enemy centre of gravity can aid in developing optimal courses of action for the friendly mission. The arachnid centre of gravity differs depending on the level of warfare, with the 3 levels being strategic, operational, and tactical. At the strategic level, the centre of gravity is the brain bug, whose ability to craft and execute sophisticated plans is the linchpin of the species' ability to wage war. In this way, the brain bug is the obvious source of strength for the arachnid army, as without it, their fighting force is unable to conduct elaborate military actions. At the tactical level, the arachnid's centre of gravity is their ability to execute massed swarm attacks. The swarm is their decisive instrument of power and enables them to exploit surprise and tempo by overwhelming defenders with speed, volume, and shock action, maintain unrelenting pressure by sustaining offensive power despite taking heavy casualties, and conduct multi-axis assaults using complementary subspecies to strike from all directions and saturate defenses. The core of their doctrine fundamentally differs from that of human military forces, in that bugs don't value losses, but exploit the fact their enemies do. Critical capabilities are the primary traits, assets, or conditions that support the centre of gravity or are essential components of its character. For example, if we were analysing a car, we could suggest the centre of gravity is the engine, and critical capabilities as the supporting mechanisms that make it run. Without them, engine performance is compromised and the vehicle or enemy force grinds to a halt. The ability to rapidly force-generate combatants at scale is the key capability enabling swarm assaults. While the arachnid reproduction cycle isn't specified, it's a safe planning assumption they reproduce at a remarkably faster rate than humans, thus sustaining the numbers needed for such tactics. The arachnid's locomotion allows them to traverse small cliffs, walls, and obstacles at great speed. Their rate of movement, even when swarming, is therefore vastly superior to that of human infantry in most terrain. They can also attack by air and from underground, opening up additional avenues of approach not available to humans. Employing subspecies such as warriors, tankers, and hoppers in differing roles is akin to using specialist troops in a human army. These bugs combine their disparate strengths to create joint effects such as airborne harassment, obstacle breaching, and tunneling. Being able to communicate by telepathy or pheromones creates near instantaneous coordination of all forces. In a human battle, critical messages are passed up and down a chain of command, further delayed by radio communications and the chaos of battle. The Arachnid Command has no such issues and can instantly promulgate situation updates or changes in strategy to their entire force. The Arachnids are indifferent to sustaining casualties during combat, be they wounded or killed in action. This biological drive allows the swarm to relentlessly pursue its mission with no concern to the units lost. The ability to collectively learn through every encounter with their human adversaries means the Arachnids can refine their warfighting skills after every battle. Supported by strategic assets like the brain bug, this allows their entire army to holistically and instantaneously adapt to future threats, in this way sharing felt combat experience even to units who were not physically present at past battles. Critical vulnerabilities. Warrior bugs and hoppers rely entirely on their razor-sharp claws and appendages to destroy their enemy, necessitating close combat engagements. The range of the tanker bug's flamethrower is also comparably short when compared to firearms. The plasma bug does have significant range, however is shown used more in an anti-air role than supporting ground assaults. These shortcomings make the swarm vulnerable to prepared defensive positions armed with ranged weapons. The swarm relies heavily on massed frontal assaults to overwhelm defenders, leading to predictable assault patterns. While effective against unprepared forces caught in the open, this predictability exposes them to pre-planned kill zones and mass casualties from both direct or indirect fire. The swarm's ability to project mass relies on throwing as many units as possible at an objective. Natural choke points or obstacles in the physical terrain slow down their rate of advance and also exposes them to concentrated enfilade fire in narrow kill zones. Despite their ferocity, individual bugs are vulnerable to concentrated fire from infantry firearms. As shown in the film, limbs being amputated still leave warrior bugs 86% combat effective. However, engaging the nerve stem results in near-instant incapacitation. With the mobile infantry shown using contemporary projectile weapons, much like present-day Earthborn forces, the bugs are therefore vulnerable to high-velocity rifle rounds, such as 5.56mm NATO, with this caliber even shown penetrating the shell of the tanker bug, their most heavily armoured subspecies. They are also susceptible to explosive and flame damage, as shown during the fleet bombing campaign on Tango Urilla. Without a brain bug or external guidance, individual arachnid warriors display little initiative or battlefield adaptability. Once the swarm is committed to an attack plan, it is unlikely to dynamically react to changing enemy tactics without external guidance. While the swarm can attack instinctively without orders, the direction provided by the brain bug provides the core nuance to any plan. This highly centralized strategic asset equates to a single point of failure, and the capture or destruction of the brain bug removes the swarm's ability to execute complex maneuvers. Speaking of complex maneuvers, no game lets you execute complex maneuvers better than War Thunder, the most comprehensive vehicle combat game ever made. If you've ever longed to jump in the driver's hatch, cockpit, or bridge with over 2,500 vehicles across land, sea, and air, then War Thunder is the game for you. And best of all, it's absolutely free and available to play right now on PC, PlayStation, and Xbox. The attention to detail, amazing. The sound effects, sublime. The graphics, fantastic. And best of all, the highly optimized game engine lets you enjoy War Thunder lag-free, even on lower-end PCs. Featuring 10 major nations and over 100 years of kit, with 70 million players worldwide, War Thunder delivers epic PvP battles that can be enjoyed by tank buffs, boat buffs, plane buffs, history buffs, or just those who want to experience the bone-rattling firepower of the most fearsome war machines in modern history. Does this sound like you? Of course it does. You enjoy strategy. So click the links below in the pinned comment or description to sign up today. And if you're a newcomer to Armored Chaos, or been on a 6-month R&R from the War Thunder battlefield, never fear, because new and returning players on PC or console get a massive bonus pack featuring premium vehicles, 100,000 silver lions, 7 days of premium access. But this offer is only for a limited time, so click the links below and join the War Thunder battlefield. Back to the video. While we're on the topic of vulnerability,
Kanpur miso soup.
let's explore the difference between critical vulnerabilities, or CVs, and targetable critical vulnerabilities.
Fire mango. Badger low-key geeked. Yeah, I'm just eating this up, honestly. I am an old geek. Also, it's easy to zone in. I like these where they lay it out kind of like a briefing in a way. It's pretty neat.
Or TCVs, and their relationship to the center of gravity. In the simplest of terms, CVs describe areas in which the enemy is weak, while TCVs describe areas in which the enemy is weak that can be realistically affected by friendly force action. Circling back to our example of viewing the center of gravity of a car as the engine, critical capabilities are therefore key parts, such as pistons, fuel injectors, and the ignition, that function together in order for the engine to run. Conversely, CVs are the weak points inherent to the engine design. For example, spark plugs, the fan belt, or the battery. All components naturally prone to failure. However, not all vulnerabilities are easy to access or attack, and the TCVs are the specific weak points we can actually reach and disable, such as disabling tires or targeting the driver. These are the vulnerabilities that are both exploitable and reasonably within reach of both our resources and understanding of the vehicle, or in this case, our enemy. In the context of the bugs, the arachnid CVs are the aforementioned general weaknesses, such as predictable assault patterns. Although with the brain bug physically removed from the outpost battle, Command Fragility is comparably difficult to target, making it a CV as opposed to a TCV. Their TCVs are the specific weaknesses that can be exploited in battle, such as low individual resilience and lack of ranged firepower. In short, the CVs describe where the bugs are weak, and TCVs describe where we can actually target their weaknesses. Also,
thing is that this is like average level stuff. So, I mean, SAS, I don't know. Probably not. But I don't know. This is like, you know, briefing level, op-ord, you know, Frago, Warno, like this is like command and control type of stuff.
remember that both capabilities
But it's at like a basic level. Nah, he's Australian Army. Yeah.
and vulnerabilities may be tangible or abstract features of the enemy's character. Part 2. Friendly Force Analysis.
Would you like to know more?
Before breaking down the friendly force, let's take a moment to critique the mobile infantry, because what they get wrong here is exactly what we'll need to fix later. Firstly, it's worth noting the Roughnecks were poorly equipped for this mission, as they lacked the heavy support weapons, obstacle equipment, and surplus ammunition sorely needed for such a defensive battle. They are also shown entering the outpost with at least one mini-nuke rocket launcher, which is bizarrely never used, despite the hopelessness of their situation. But to be fair, their initial task was to investigate a distress call from the outpost, and not having been forewarned by military intelligence they were likely entering a bug ambush, their loadout was evidently tailored for foot patrolling in rough terrain, as opposed to an extensive defensive battle. On entering the compound, they promptly established hasty security by emplacing 2 OPs, manning the fixed heavy machine guns, and sealing an arachnid tunnel leading to the chow hall. This security footprint seems rather light given the circumstances, and costs them precious time later, when they must hustle to man the parapet. I'd suggest that instead at least 50% alertness would have been more appropriate, with half the platoon manning the walls immediately on arrival, providing more eyes and guns readily trained on the approaches. Once the arachnid swarm is spotted, Sergeant Watkins hysterically screams bugs, and the Roughnecks simply wait, losing precious seconds where squad leaders could be giving fire control orders or allocating sectors of fire. They wait so long, in fact, that it takes 49 seconds from the bugs being spotted to anyone firing the first round, which is finally triggered by Lieutenant Radchek eventually giving the order to fire at will, by which time the arachnids have closed to within 50 meters of the outpost. The Roughnecks predictably react to this order by full auto mag dumping at the swarm directly to their front, and while I acknowledge they didn't have belt-fed weapons, this still demonstrates poor application of machine gun theory, as they failed to maximize the beaten zones of their automatic fire. Allow me to explain. When engaging with machine guns from an elevated position, shooting straight down or to your immediate front causes the rounds to impact in a small concentrated area. This drastically reduces the cone of fire, meaning fewer enemies are affected with each burst. Instead, machine guns should ideally achieve grazing fire, where bullets travel just above ground level and sweep across a long stretch of terrain. Doing so engages the depth of an approaching enemy force and causes attrition towards the center of the formation, instead of merely targeting the front ranks. This technique thins out enemy hordes at distance, and any assaulters that clear the beaten zones can be engaged with more disciplined rifle fire. While we're discussing fundamental skills, let's address the arachnid in the room.
Thus why, my dear grunts, it is important that when you do your sector sketches, you include the positions of friendly teams within them, their fields of fire as well, because quite usually you're going to have locking or interlocking fields of fire. And make sure you know for sure that everybody is tracking the same, at least, localization of dead space. That's very important. Otherwise, you know, that it just applies to everything else he said already. Firemango, Badger out here dropping unk advice. But yeah, no, a good amount of what he's talking about is it stretches in between tactical level, which, you know, or at least just the lowest, just about the lowest strategic part of the ladder, down to the tactical and team level stuff. And part of that is, you know, something called a sector sketch. So if you're gonna stop anywhere for a while, you know, beyond like 6 hours at least, you pull out a card and it's got, like, you know, elevations and it's got lists on it essentially. And what you do with it, it's called a sector sketch. what you do with it is that you tell your orientation compared to the rest of the formation, your spot, your degrees, longitude and latitude, your specific spot, and then what's in front of you to your just about like your excuse me. But yeah, your 12 is here from your 9 o'clock usually, and from your 3 o'clock is what you would cover in your sector sketch. And then what would happen is that everybody in every position around you is doing the same thing. What you're essentially doing is you're filling in a localized, you're doing basically localized cartography, military style. Because you're building up a map of the local area that your leadership can then look to and translate that, upon review into coordinates and all that kind of stuff, right? So, if there's a dead space, you can cover that with mortars, and, if you get any type of aerodales, you can fill them in on what the digit grid is and all that. So, well, anyway, the sector sketch is basically like, one of the command and control tools. Anyway, let's continue. I'm tangenting.
The Roughnecks simply can't shoot.
Oh my God!
They're repeatedly shown firing from the hip or not using their sights, but that might also be because the issued Morita Mark I rifle doesn't have any. Which I think is a funny chicken and egg type dilemma surrounding their shooting ability and organisational culture. Do their people suck at shooting because their rifles don't have sights, or do they not bother giving their rifles sights because their people suck at shooting? The more mundane reason is that the film went over budget before the carry handle sights of the Ruger AC556 bullpup kits could be completed, but this in-universe theory is more fun. Either way, their questionable philosophy towards marksmanship speaks volumes about the mobile infantry's foundational soldier skills, and while high in esprit de corps, they are evidently far from an elite outfit. But to the film's credit, this theme of marksmanship is somewhat addressed within the narrative progression. On the very first encounter our rookies have with the bugs, they're absolutely hopeless. It takes dozens of soldiers, hundreds of rounds to down a single warrior, but numerous missions later, the same roughnecks are shown easily downing swarms of bugs with only a fire team, due to an apparent increase in their marksmanship skills and combat experience, or perhaps more boringly, that they're simply plot essential characters. Let's review the battle by the numbers. The film appears to show the events playing out in real time, which allows us to ascertain key triggers using timestamps. At 1 hour 25, they arrive at the outpost. At 1:28, the arachnid attack begins, and at 1 hour 33 minutes, their extraction dropship touches down. This means the Roughnecks had a mere 3 minutes to prepare themselves for the attack, and had to survive the swarm for 5 minutes prior to embarking the dropship. In terms of their numbers, Roughneck Platoon enters the outpost approximately 30 strong, having previously lost their radio man to a hopper bug on approach to the objective.
In most games, they have a simple V-notch rear sight and single front post with zero adjustment for windage and elevation. Similar to FAMAS sights, just without adaptability. Oh shit.
Over the course of the battle, they lose these two blokes to decapitation, this chap by getting snatched over the fence, this guy to backspike, ouch, this guy to backslash, this guy to front slash, Lieutenant Radchek to the hole and mercy killing by Rico, the two tower gunners by melting, and of course, Corporal Dizzy Flores, gone but not from our hearts. Just prior to losing Dizzy, marked here in red, this frame shows us 20 roughnecks boarding the dropship, which brings the final count to 11 kills in action for the mission, or a 32% casualty rate. I say all this because I think there's two fundamentally different ways I can approach this video. Option 1, we give the US Marines the exact same numbers, circumstances, and victory conditions as the Roughnecks. That is, they have 3 minutes to prepare a defense and must hold the outpost for 5 minutes before extracting, with the goal being to sustain less than 32% casualties to improve on the performance metrics from the film. But I simply don't find this an interesting scenario. There's ultimately still too many bugs for too few defenders. There also wouldn't be much change in the firepower output, with the 5.56mm Morita rifles of the Roughnecks firing the same caliber as the current Marine service rifle. Further to this, the Marine Corps recently innocently and somewhat scandalously did away with belt-fed machine guns at the platoon level, leaving them with only automatic rifles across their squads, which is coincidentally similar to the mobile infantry structure. Sure, the Marines could apply their superior marksmanship, command and control, and limited explosive weapons to better effect, but given their similar lack of manpower and support weapons, this would only increase the delay by a factor of minutes, and inevitably see them withdrawing, much like the Roughnecks. The hypothetical question asked of that scenario would therefore be, what would happen if a platoon of US Marines were at the Battle of Whiskey Outpost, instead of the Roughnecks? This leaves option 2, where we ask ourselves a vastly more intriguing question. How would the US Marines win the Battle of Whiskey Outpost, and what would it take to do so? What kind of manning, firepower, prep time, and support would they need to hold the outpost and achieve a decisive victory over the Arachnids? That's the scenario we're going to craft, and to do that, we'll start by selecting a force that's fit for purpose. The defending unit is adapted from a US Marine Corps infantry battalion. With a proud history and decades of combat experience, infantry Marines are designed to fight as part of a larger Marine air-ground task force. Like the mobile infantry from the film, Marine battalions are expeditionary by design and built for rapid deployment from the parent fleet. They operate with a strong emphasis on small unit leadership, adaptability, and aggression, and their integration of combined arms gives the Marine battalion access to lethal firepower in both offensive and defensive operations. While I'd like to use the entirety of the 900-strong battalion to ensure a win, we're hindered by the size of the outpost, so we'll need to downscale to a single rifle company plus bespoke supporting elements. Alpha Company will form the core of the fighting force and consists of 3 rifle platoons, each with 3 rifle squads. The company also has an organic medium machine gun section, which consists of 3 additional squads with 2 MGs per squad. Weapons Company holds the heavy fire support and contains 2 cat platoons and mortar platoon. Normally,
it's not too terribly different from how they do stuff in the Army.
vehicle mounted, the cat platoons employ anti-tank launchers and heavy weapons. However, in this case, will be dismounted with their machine guns and automatic grenade launchers. The battalion is also augmented by the fire support team, a small element containing joint terminal attack controllers and artillery joint fires observers, responsible for synchronizing indirect fire and close air support. This brings our total manning to 210 Marines, meaning the outpost will be cozy, but also now contain the required firepower and manning to repel the bug assault. Assets and weapons. The following assets are organic to the Marine Battalion. The M27 is a 5.56mm magazine-fed automatic rifle, standard issue across the Marine Corps. It is the replacement to both the previously issued M4 carbine and the M249 squad automatic weapon, and provides the Marine platoon increased mobility, although arguably at the cost of belt-fed suppressive fire. The M67 fragmentation grenade and M18A1 Claymore mine are both used at the squad level. These are both casualty-producing explosive weapons that can disrupt clusters of attackers. Issued at the fire team level, the M320 is a 40mm single-shot grenade launcher used in either an under-barrel or standalone configuration. It allows grenadiers to deliver HE, smoke, and illumination rounds out to 350 meters against area targets. The 84mm Morse, or Carl Gustav, is a versatile recoilless rifle employed by the rifle platoons for anti-armor, anti-structure, and area suppression tasks. Capable of firing heat and HE rounds, it excels at destroying both armored targets such as vehicles or tanker bugs, and enemy concentrations with airburst fragmentation. The 7.62mm belt-fed M240 Bravo is the Marine Corps standard medium machine gun and is employed by multiple subunits within the battalion. The company medium machine gun section employs 6 M240s across 3 squads, and the weapons company cat platoons use an additional 8 M240s, configured for static or vehicle-mounted roles. The M250 Cal is a heavy machine gun delivering powerful, long-range fire against personnel, vehicles, and light structures. It is deployed exclusively by the cat platoons, with 1 M2 assigned per section, totaling 4 guns with an area target range of 1800 meters. The Mark 19 is a 40mm belt-fed automatic grenade launcher that provides high-volume explosive fire. Like the M2, it is fielded within the weapons company cat platoons, with 1 Mark 19 per section, totaling 4 within the company. It excels at disrupting enemy formations and has an area target range of 2,200 meters. The 81mm mortar is the battalion's principal indirect fire weapon, providing high-angle explosive fire support out to 5,800 meters. Operated by 3-man crews, mortar platoon use 8 tubes across 2 mortar sections. Mortars can be a battle-changing weapon capable of disrupting assaults and inflicting mass casualties among enemy formations. The following assets are external and provided by supporting units from the Marine Air Ground Task Force. Supporting artillery batteries provide additional indirect fires to the Marine Battalion. This may come from either M777 155mm artillery or HIMARS rocket systems. Aviation support includes fixed-wing close air support from platforms such as the Harrier, FA-18 Hornet, Hornet or F-35, capable of delivering guided bombs, rockets, and strafing runs. Rotary wing close air support is provided by aircraft like the AH-1Z Viper and UH-1Y Venom, which offer precision gunfire, rocket strikes, and Hellfire missile engagements to support ground maneuver and suppress enemy advance. The Roughneck's mission was to delay the bug assault in order to hold out long enough to extract, but in this new scenario, the Marines are not settling for mere survival and are instead tasked with holding firm in Whiskey Outpost. Note that a military mission statement should consist of the who, what, where, when, and why, and use clear task verbs. These task verbs are standardized effects-based words that are used in orders to clearly explain what is to be achieved without the risk of ambiguity. There's numerous suitable task verbs for this mission statement, but in this case, I've opted for retain. Alpha Company plus attachments is to retain Whiskey Outpost, no less than D plus 12 hours, in order to degrade Arachnid offensive capability on Planet P. The center of gravity for the Marine Battalion is its combined arms composition. This enables integration of all weapons and battlefield effects using both assets internal and external to the company. The battalion's center of gravity is supported by 6 key critical capabilities. Long-range lethality is delivered through the integration of M250 cals, Mark 19s, and 81mm mortars, allowing the Marines to engage and disrupt.
Thank you, Jaina. And yes, salute to our still serving men and women.
Enemy forces well before they reach close combat distance. This is,
By the way, this guy has done a superb job. I'm sure some people notice, but he literally just did the 5 W's I'm always talking about. Who, what, where, when, why. Man, it feels good to hear someone else say them.
reinforced by layered suppression, with direct fire weapons interlaced across mutually supporting arcs to ensure continuous and overlapping fields of fire, saturating enemy avenues of approach. Through its embedded fire support team, the battalion can also access joint fires, enabling the integration of surveillance UAVs, external artillery, and close air support to shape the battle space beyond organic weapon ranges. Defensive cohesion is maintained through strong coordination, facilitated by sound command and control and rehearsed engagement plans. At the individual level, Marines possess tactical initiative and can respond decisively to changes in the battle situation without seeking guidance from centralized commanders. These characteristics are held together by battlefield discipline, a deeply ingrained cultural capability that sees Marines adhere to the commander's intent even in the face of adversity or friction. While the battalion is a capable and disciplined force, it carries inherent vulnerabilities. Among these is its dependence on fixed heavy weapons positions. Crew-served systems such as M2s, Mark 19s, and mortars take time to emplace and can become liabilities once positions are flanked or breached, unable to rapidly reorientate their arcs of fire. This is compounded by a finite supply of resources. The volume of fire required to repel a massed assault consumes ammunition at a rapid rate, with resupply only possible by aviation, but more details on this later. The enemy's subterranean breaching ability presents a serious risk to static defensive positions. These tunnels avoid pre-sighted killing grounds and can penetrate defensive lines. Additionally, the Marines suffer from limited tactical depth, both in the meagre available physical space and reserves. Should the compound be breached, Marines will be forced into close quarters combat, where they are significantly disadvantaged against the more robust arachnids, and the effectiveness of their heavy weapons are compromised. Lastly is the unavoidable reality of human fatigue and mental overload. Prolonged exposure to combat reduces decision-making and physical endurance, creating opportunities for their adversaries. Part 3. Terrain analysis.
Would you like to know more?
The broader area of operations is the unwelcoming, rocky expanse of Planet P, where Whiskey Outpost is located. The AO is characterized by harsh, barren desert with jagged rock formations and sprawling narrow ravines.
Jaina, I believe it would be good to have a mandatory military school for juvenile kids. Teach them respect for USA. Thing is that used to be taught by parents. In the greater whole back in the day. It seems like, though, that would be one way to speed us up going back to the good old days now, wouldn't it?
Outpost is itself situated at the end of a broad valley with natural choke points between elevated.
Speaking of end of the day, I gotta clean my hands and stuff. I've been eating food and zoning in and having a good time. Gina, I'm speaking on the delinquents that roam streets now. Are crime-ridden thugs. Send them off. No, no, no. It's too late at that point. There's no rescue and recovery from that. You just redirect them essentially. I'm like, hey, look. Why not use them for free labor? Hey, there can be such a thing as good slavery. You know, like, all right, you stole something from somebody. That's a year sentence of hard labor. Right? And that whole year of them, you know, breaking big rock into tiny rock, you know, for 20 hours a freaking day, that's going to make them think about it. But if someone's already decided to do malicious, malignant, evil, you know, evil intended murder, which is killing somebody just because, well, you're bad, essentially, right? They're beyond it. They're not coming back. You know, even if they do end up feeling some kind of remorse or regret later on, you just cannot. We can't give them any more, right? So it's like, okay, you're going to serve the rest of your life, you know, doing hard labor. You know, supervise construction crews and all that. I'm like, bring back the good slavery. Instead of what we do now, where it's like, we just keep them in a jail cell, but we provide them food, you know, clothing and shelter. So it's like, it's just a money sink, a money drain. Gina, kids that live on farms or have constant chores do well. That's what I hear for the most part, right? You know, but in general, children who are raised, you know, with the realities of existence being a constant presence in their lives, right, like my son is, they do very good also. Now, I don't own a farm. I live in a city, and I will never be fortunate enough to have property ever again. But my son does a lot of things. He's structured. He's disciplined, right? And, you know, there's reward and punishment in my house. So, yeah, on the constant chores, you know, the discipline and all of that, you know, I got it.
ridge lines and rocky outcroppings, giving way to open, flat terrain immediately surrounding the compound. At risk of breaking your immersion, a quick reminder that Planet P is not a real place. It does not exist. But the filming location of Whiskey Outpost does, and the geology and conditions from Hell's Half Acre, Wyoming, will therefore provide the context for this analysis. Impact of terrain and weather. The environment is dusty and dry, which may degrade visibility, especially during windy conditions. Sand and grit can also reduce the reliability of both weapons and electro-optical equipment used by the Marines. The climate is semi-arid, reaching 32 degrees Celsius by day, but minimal shade means heat-related injuries must be mitigated and managed. Observation and fields fire. Whiskey Outpost has excellent frontal observation across the valley floor on.
You know, I've been a heat casualty. It's not that bad. It's not that bad. As long as you don't have an awareness of feeling like it's just a little bit harder, a little bit tougher to kind of think and recall and to process things. As long as you can get past that part. Being a heat casualty ain't that bad. Sure, your brain is being cooked, but if you don't have a whole lot to cook in the first place, I mean, are you really worse off? If you know what I mean. Gina, Does it bother you seeing a veteran burn an American flag? I don't get it. Well, I understand it. When you're in, or when you're being brought into the service, you're promised the world. They give you even a dog and pony show, right, about the VA. Say they will lie to your face, essentially, right? The contract for service is very steep on the front end, very heavy on the front, very light in the back. And here's the thing with it. Not enough, get enough. That's just the honest truth. And you have to think about it in the, if you're an older person, you'll understand this greatly. But you got to think about it this way. You have signed away, more often than not, the best years of your whole existence, which is always going to be your youth. Okay? Your younger years, where you're full of vitality and vigor. Well, you only get to be young once. There's no renewing the lease. There's no, go get a car wash. No fancy schmancy, pill or drug that reverses time, or biophysically reverts you. Right? We don't have that capacity. So the way the contract is presented for service is you give up the best years of your life for the country and everybody in it, and then you'll get taken care of when we're done. And then you find out that the reputation of the VA, right, the bad reputation of the VA, of military, of being retired military and all that, then you start to see it. And there's a ton of, disappointment, betrayal, right? I mean, so I understand them. I absolutely do. Because I've been to a point myself where I've been very, very angry. I'm in this position in the first place when I was promised more. So, does it bother me? Yes. Not because of the flag by itself, but because of what that act symbolizes. And the thing is that even for the worst veterans, doing something to that flag is a big deal. A huge deal. Right? The uniform burning stuff is second only to that. So for a veteran to burn the flag, well, that's exactly what it's meant to be. If you felt and your life experience had been nothing but betrayal, anguish, and misery after having given a huge chunk of your life away you can never get back, and the other party in that doesn't deliver, how would you feel about that? But anyway, to me, it doesn't bother me, when it comes to, because, I mean, look, it is It is just a representation of our flag that's being burnt. Our actual flag, if I remember correctly, for the whole country, that original, flag, the standard and everything, it's at the capital of the country. So it's more of the symbol, it's more of like the symbolism that gets me than the actual act itself. Because someone could burn any flag of any kind, and I'm not going to care. Why? Well, because it's just some cloth. Sure, it might represent something precious to me, but it's not that thing, if you understand what I mean. But the act, it's, but the symbolism of it, that's where the issue can be found. Because it's like, something must be horribly wrong for you to feel so inclined as to desecrate the very thing you swore to, essentially. I know I'm very much simplifying this and super tangenting it, but yeah. So if it feels like a slap in the face, that's because it is. And you're the honest type, it seems like. So the reason why it feels like a slap in the face to you is something I would question beyond it's just the flag. Why do you feel like it's personally targeted towards you? The act itself, not what's happening to the flag, right? For a good amount of people, it means they do that they can and could understand the act, but are having a bit of an internal war because it's like, well, it shouldn't be this way. But that's just how it is. If you get what I mean.
The eastern approach, however, only at.
By the way, this guy has done an amazing job. I mean, hell, he's showing the playbook here. Anybody, hey, look, if I got some grunts, if I got some soldiers, some military, whatever in here, watch this video and take notes, because he's actually doing a pretty good job, in simple form, of making military education fun.
Maximum weapons range through keyholes in the terrain. The center of the defensive arc is obscured by a large rock formation that hides attackers, but also canalizes them into choke points on either side. Cover and concealment. The metal compound walls provide the primary source of cover for defenders, with the rocky terrain also giving some protection from fire through folds in the ground and large boulders or outcroppings. The absence of vegetation means minimal concealment for both attackers and defenders, but deep valleys can provide concealed movement for infantry or arachnid formations. Obstacles. The compound backs onto a cliff escarpment, above which lies a rocky plateau. It's not exactly clear in the film why the arachnids don't attack from this direction, but I'd speculate the change in topography means they can't dig into the rocky hard surface, which leaves them exposed to aerial bombardment from the fleet. This terrain feature is the primary obstacle hindering approach to Whiskey Outpost, and means attackers must approach from the east and enter through the aforementioned choke points. Key terrain. The outpost is the evident key terrain. It provides its occupants defensive walls and a position of decisive advantage in which to conduct defensive actions. Part 4. The Battle Plan.
Would you like to know more?
When creating a defensive battle plan, one of the key tasks is engagement area development. In simple terms, an engagement area is a pre-sighted portion of the battlefield where a defending force plans direct fire, indirect fire, and obstacles to destroy the enemy on ground of their choosing. Step 1 involves determining the likely enemy avenues of approach.
So basically, that's like where you would set, predetermined targets, like target reference points and stuff like that, for like your support. So, if you've got aerial support, then they need the general grid coordinate to go to, and then to look for, right? And then they'll need other, cues and stuff like that. For your indirect fires, right, you just give them the grid coordinates, and you have to do at least 10 digit. But yeah, like stuff like that. It's where you kind of pre-plan what you're going to use where, and what type of ordnance and why, right? And then you get into stacking assets and all that kind of thing. So, yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot.
Having done our enemy analysis,
But man, he's done such a good job with this.
we know this will involve ground, air, and subterranean routes. With the western flank of the base protected by the escarpment, the enemy surface swarm must approach from the east, flowing through the canyons and ravines to minimize exposure from detection and aviation assets. On final approach, the bugs must split around this large rocky pinnacle, diverging their force to the north and south before commencing their assault on the outpost proper. The arachnid airborne approach can come from 360 degrees. However, the hoppers in the film are shown also attacking from the east, potentially indicating they too avoid the exposed ground to the west. Finally, the tanker bugs have the troublesome ability to tunnel, thus creating subterranean avenues of approach that can emerge anywhere the ground is soft enough.
Gina, the terrain is brutal. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It's not too different from certain places in the Middle East. Like if you go to Morocco and you go to the coast of Morocco, facing the Atlantic Ocean, it's like, dude, that's some tough terrain. Or even hell, Afghanistan. You go to northeastern Afghanistan, and there's trails that go along cliffs, and those mountains, boy, do they go deep. Those valleys are real far down. But yeah, this is no joke. No joke at all. Because people see you in the movies, or they see you during training, and they're like, they make it look so easy. Oh, it's because we've done it a million times, so this is nothing to us. You trying to take your butt out there and do the same exact shit, you're going to be sucking wind within a click. So it's any issue, but yeah, man. Then again, if I had the biology of a bug, it would pose no issue to me. I can climb on frickin' ceilings. I mean, they're scary things, is what I'd say. I'd rather fight a polar bear than a bug.
Based on their tactics from the film, we can assess the bugs will commit to a massed frontal swarm, prioritizing speed and volume over finesse. They will aim to breach the compound by overwhelming the parapet with climbing warrior bugs, using sheer numbers to scale their growing pile of dead. Tanker bugs are used as heavy breachers, both to attack the wall and to burrow underneath the defensive lines. Hopper bugs provide aerial harassment, targeting isolated defenders and key weapon systems. Once the break-in is achieved at any point of the walls, they will exploit it by surging warriors into the breach, aiming to isolate and divide defenders to rapidly overrun the position. Step 3 involves sighting the engagement area proper, which identifies the key area or areas where the plan intends to destroy the enemy. This plan sees the majority of the killing occurring within engagement area Rico, located on the eastern side of the clearing approaching the compound.
Mango. Well, these planets made the arachnids like this. They basically outcompeted every other species by being so efficient. Makes sense. Makes sense. There's only one of two things that works in nature to create the ultimate creatures. And that's either it's either extreme quality or extreme quantity. Gina, spiders, holy moly. Oh yeah. Oh my God. I remember finding, a couple of camel spiders shacking it up in my freaking mattress. Mango, that's why they start moving off world. They have zero resources left. They drain the oceans dry, etc. Mango, well, not spiders. The bug arachnids are pretty much just giant ants. Yeah, pretty much, kind of. Yeah, in a way.
You could add specific EA.
Kind of like fire ants, or what's the other super aggressive ant type? They're either from Australia or Tasmania. Or wait, or was it Madagascar in general, where well, anyway, Mango, in the book there are spiders with laser guns and spaceships. Well, yes, I know that. I'm just talking about this. Anyway, let's continue.
That serve as the choke point.
But yeah, see this thing right here? This thing he's doing the thing to right here? This is quite literally like it's not a direct one-to-one, but it's a similar, enough thing to a sector sketch, as I was talking about earlier. Except everybody would fill out their own because they'd have their own positions, right? And so, you'd be here, someone else would be here, someone else would be here. Everybody does a sector sketch like that so that you can create a shared, map of the local area. And then what your leadership would do is they would take each of your sketches, your sector sketches, which you include everything in them, and then they apply it to the whole map like this. Right? And that's how they do, like, a lot of final planning. Gina, landmines too, right? Wait, are you talking about what Fire Mingo said or what I said earlier? I don't know what that's exactly, but if you're asking about the sector sketch, yes, you would most certainly include landmines and their locations or any other explosive, anything, whatever. It doesn't matter if it's a kangaroo trap, right? Like, you got to put that down. That way they know where everything is. Dead animal carcass, same thing. But yeah.
Points, but this area is realistically too small for multiple engagement areas, so we will instead achieve this through target reference points. More on that later. Given the durability, strength.
Yeah, he for sure knows what he's talking about. He also talks about target reference points. If you hear somebody say something is near TRP, whatever, right, then it's a target reference point.
And mobility of the bugs. Conventional obstacles intended for humans would likely prove ineffective against the arachnid swarm. This plan therefore leverages the natural terrain as the key obstacle onto which the fire plans are integrated. But if we theoretically had enough time and heavy plant equipment such as excavators and dozers, a robust obstacle plan could be developed. First, large barricades such as Connex containers or vehicle wrecks could be placed to channel the swarm into the enfilade grazing fire of the guns, further enhancing the kill zone. Next, counter-mobility ditches could be dug deep enough to disrupt the swarm momentum, slowing them down along the obstacle belts. Additionally, fields of barbed wire can be added to the channels to further degrade the bug advance. Wire is an extremely slept-on obstacle, and in sufficient quantities can even be effective against armored vehicles. It would likely take...
Yes, it can. That good old C-wire, dude. So C-wire is razor wire. So think about like barbed wire. I'm sure somebody's seen a building where like the top of the chain link fence has like sharp barbed wires at the top to stop people from climbing it, right? Excuse me, Jesus. But yeah, concertina wire, C-wire, whatever you want to call it. Really effective, real cheap. Give me like 10 or 12 tons of C-wire. I can shut down a whole, I can shut down a series of roads with that. Concertina wire with a bunch of trees and shrubbery in it and just detritus and debris and shit thrown behind it. That's a real effective barrier. Especially for, especially for vehicles. Because, even for Bradleys and Abrams, running over sea wire, shit, that stuff gets stuck up inside the freaking and the road wheels and everything, and it can pop them out of place, or it could jam up the gears enough to where you start losing speed, and then you start to slow down. But yeah, freaking even the Abrams could get caught up in that and then get stuck. So yeah, like sea wire, I'm a believer. I am a believer.
Take an obscene amount to slow the bugs, but if resources permitted such an obstacle to be developed, it would be extremely effective. The near obstacle would be a deep trench or fire moat, which would act as a final barrier to the bugs reaching the wall, and could be filled with fuel and flame fugas. Finally, the outpost should ideally be constructed with steel anti-dig mesh built into the concrete foundation, functioning.
Gina, right, like that picture you showed. So like the one we're looking at right now, I'm assuming. But yeah, basically it's it, right? And what he's doing right now is upper level tactical planning, right? Because you're a bit closer to ground level. Strategic planning would have, your, different brigades, areas of operations and shit. That level of stuff. But yeah, this is still tactical level. As complicated and big picture as it looks like, but this basically as above so below. It's very similar.
Similar to an underground shark net that would prevent or at least delay the tankers from burrowing through the surface. The resources needed to make this obstacle plan happen are well beyond what's available to a marine company, so in our scenario, they will have to rely on the terrain alone. We're now ready to assign defensive positions and cite our direct fire plan. The aim in this step is to combine the terrain obstacles with overlapping fields of fire to create a tightly coordinated kill zone that creates maximum casualties in the engagement area.
That's actually not outside of a company's resources. Even for the Marines who, they don't got a lot of shit. I mean, they had similar Connex kits to us. With concertina wire in them, tow bars, freaking, extra, if they had ammo that was in a different Connex, they could have extra, carry it forward with them. If you needed to have them, boats, tents, a lot of logistics when it comes to modern combat units is organic to the unit, because they're gonna come front loaded with their own supply, so extra fuel and everything. So him saying that's beyond the resources of a company is a little strange to me, especially for an area like this, which would be equivalent, essentially. This would be a company-sized area. Well, anyway, I mean, he's a bit wrong about that one. Because the resources needed to, do this are actually within the uppermost limit of a company-sized element's logistics and supply. So, I mean, I'm not sure how to feel about that one, really. Still a cool video, though.
First, our crew-served weapons. Cat Platoon will form the backbone of heavy fire support, dividing into 4 dismounted sections. The 4 M250 cals will be split into 2 teams, mounted on the southeast and northeast corners of the parapet. These will be sighted onto the choke points and work in pairs to maintain a sustained weight of fire. Next, the Mark 19s will also occupy the wall, with clear arcs into depth, also sighted onto the terrain choke points to supplement the 50 cal fire. The 8 M240 teams will also...
Essentially, what you would try to do is that, since obviously one weapon system has a greater range than the other, even if their fields of fire intersect, they're going to overlap in the area anyway, right? So what you do is that, what you want them to do is that you want them to focus on a certain area, because they're area effect weapons systems, and then you'll have the one that does more point have a much shorter engagement distance, and the one that can engage at a greater distance you have at a much greater engagement distance. right? So, let's say one weapon system outshoots the other. So, then what you would do is that the weapon system with the shorter range will have its own engagement, target reference point. Okay, once they start getting to this thing, that's when you start opening up. And then the other, weapon system will have a greater engagement range for which to start engagement with. If that makes any sense. To my brain, it sounds like just common sense, really. But I mean, I don't know nowadays.
Be spread evenly across the wall, achieving interlocking fields of fire using a fixed limits lateral traverse pattern. To the rear, the 81mm mortar platoon is co-located with all 8 tubes online. They'll have to get cozy to fit all the base plates in, but on the upside, there is no threat of enemy counter battery fired.
Not really, actually. They won't need to get that cozy. Because you would actually have the mortars centralized. You wouldn't have the mortars directly on top of the frickin' wall. I'm not sure if he's doing direct reference point or not, but you'd have the mortars maybe somewhere back here. You want them the furthest from the front line as possible, but still within range to engage and support your fires. So you want them somewhere back here so that, not only can they engage in any direction, but you can have half of them shooting that way, half of them shooting this way. Unless you're doing just like point engagement, then it's a bit different. But yeah, I mean, so far he's really not wrong.
To worry about. The mortar offensive support plan will be detailed in the next step. Reinforcing the weapons company guns is the Alpha Company medium machine gun section, positioned alongside the Cat gunners. Their 3 squads will man 6 additional M240s, distributed in pairs to cover the north, center, and south sections of the wall. These will cover any gaps in the engagement area, and also serve as backups should the weapons company M240s fail. Having placed all the casualty-producing support weapons, the priority now becomes creatively putting the remainder of Alpha Company to work. First platoon is tasked with security of the north wall. From this position, they will be able to protect the flank from any bugs that push through the engagement area, allowing the machine guns to maintain their fire on their allocated targets. Although lacking belt-fed weapons, their concentrated rifle fire should be able to prevent bugs from consolidating at the base of the wall. And failing this, their claymore mines and fragmentation grenades will assist in disrupting the swarm. The rearmost squad will also provide rear security in the unlikely event of the enemy advancing from the west. Second platoon is similarly tasked, albeit with the security of the southern flanking wall. Third platoon is the company reserve, and is also tasked with internal security of the compound. One squad will provide dedicated anti-air defense, and will occupy the heavy machine gun tower, the walls, and other elevated positions to best target the airborne hopper bugs. This allows the defenders on the walls to focus on the warrior bugs, knowing the air threat is being engaged by another team. This anti-air
He's doing a pretty good delegation as well. I like the way he's delegated everything so far.
squad must be tightly controlled to prevent fratricide by accidentally shooting the Marines on the walls. Second squad is the dedicated explosive squad and will man gaps in the walls with the company's CARLSON. Their primary task is to engage the killing ground with 84mm HE airburst, and their secondary task is to destroy any approaching tanker bugs with heat rounds. Third squad is the dedicated anti-tunneling squad and a position to react to any bugs attempting to breach the surface. On first sign of an emerging bug hole, third squad must hastily move to the position and target the breaching tanker using concentrated rifle fire, M320s, and frag grenades. The key is to kill the tanker as quickly as possible, so the corpse falls back into the hole, effectively forming a plug to deny any follow-on warriors use of the tunnel. This is based on the lessons of the film, when Dizzy destroys a tanker with a grenade, and its body slumps back into the breach point. It's admittedly far from an elegant solution, but there's really no way to feasibly prevent the tankers from achieving their breach, so the focus instead becomes on managing this risk as practically as possible once it occurs. Finally, the fire support team will occupy the command post and establish their joint fires communication comms and surveillance network to receive live feeds from supporting assets.
So, what we call the fire support guys, we call them fisters. Not even a joke. We called them fisters. So yeah, I'll leave it up to people's imagination how fun that was all the time.
Allocated each Marine a task and position, control measures can also be added to the plan. Target reference points supplement the larger engagement area, with TRP Dizzy placed on the northern avenue of approach and TRP Carmen placed on the southern choke point. TRP Zim is centralized within EA Rico and can be used to realign all weapons onto a centrally focused arc of fire. TRPs should be sighted on or near obvious reference points, and they serve to trigger events, shift fire, or enhance target indications on enemy movements. The final control measure for the direct fire weapons is the Final Protective Fire Line, or FPF ACE. This is sighted within close proximity to the compound and is used to prevent a surging enemy from achieving a tactical breakthrough. Machine gun FPFs see selected weapons blitz a rapid volume of fire for a predetermined round count or duration, with the goal being to disrupt the enemy's final breach. The final step of EA development is to integrate indirect fires into the plan. With both internal mortars and external assets such as fixed-wing close air support, the fire support team is critical in coordinating all offensive support to ensure both its safe employment and maximize lethality. The first key asset is the surveillance UAV. This is used to provide both early warning on the approaching bug swarm and, more critically, is used to adjust mortar fire beyond the line of sight of the outpost. This allows mortar targets to be registered in dead ground and target the highest density of the arachnid swarm in the ground rear of the choke points. With
Gina, in that picture, the soldiers looked overwhelmed and surrounded. Well, I mean, that's the whole point of the movie at that point, right? Was to, like, put them in a very bad situation. So that, you know, it worked as a Deus Ex Mach... Well, okay, not really a Deus Ex Machina. Well, more like a furtherance. Well, anyway, in that scene, yes, they are overwhelmed and surrounded. But they all go down with a fight.
point mortar target Xander to the...
Yeah, if that's the one you're referencing, yeah. That was a very famous scene from the movie.
south and Radchek to the north. Mortar target Jenkins is a rectangular target servicing the central killing ground, and the final protective fire mortar target is FPF Zegema Beach, located within danger close limits of the compound. The external offensive support will be available as on-call contingency fire only. A HIMARS strike
Fight indeed. Fight indeed.
box will supplement the depth mortar targets, while a designated aviation close air support corridor runs north to south in the same area. Finally, a Viper ECAS lane will complement the primary kill zone, with the gunship's cannons and Hydra rockets able to safely engage closer than the artillery and guided bombs. How did F-35s and Viper helicopters make it across the galaxy to support our company of Marines? Hard to say really, but we've got them on standby, so we might as well plan how to best employ them. This engagement area combines mutual support, integration of assets, and lethal coverage of the kill zone. Every weapon is positioned with intent. Every squad has a clearly defined task, and the terrain approaching the outpost is efficiently covered by fire. The Marines aren't simply hoping to survive, but rather shaping the battlefield to annihilate anything that approaches their position. Now, I know what you're thinking. Do the Marines have enough ammunition? Good question, glad you asked. But not everyone cares about the numbers, so I'll blast through this simple math style. First, our total available ammunition, laid out by weapon system and users, and the total quantity of each caliber and nature. For example, here we can see that there are 14 total M240s, each with 1,200 rounds, creating a total of 16,800 rounds. Next, let's determine average rounds to kill per bug by species, being the Hopper, Warrior, and the Tanker. In the film, the Hoppers are shown to be slightly less durable than the Warriors, and the Tankers logically can sponge the most small arms fire. Reviewing the M240 data again, we can see it takes 15 rounds to kill a single warrior, with this figure being an average including misses. For example, one bug might have 10 rounds fired at it and die from 5 hits, while another might have 30 rounds fired at it and die after 20 hits. Taking into account that our defending Marines have substantially better marksmanship training than the Roughnecks, I think these figures are pretty generous to the durability of the bugs, while also considering the chaos of the battlefield and also disregarding that some rounds, especially the 50 cal, will likely kill more than one bug by overpenetration. Let's now take our total rounds, or TR, and divide them by our average rounds to kill, or ARK, to give us our TBK, or theoretical bug kills, which will provide a rough idea if we're adequately supplied for the task. Working with
Gosh, damn, he's doing a good job. I always hated this part, because we do something similar to this when we do mission planning, right, in the Army. It's very much similar to this. And at the end of the day, let's just say you want to make sure you get everything to look good enough the first time, right? So that you don't have to keep doing it over and over and over again. So we used to always, any chance we got, we'd overestimate the daylight set everything. Because it was better to have a surplus of like 50% extra ammo compared to what we needed with for the mission, and some extra other supplies versus potentially having to do without them. Just saying. That being said, I need another beer. I'll be black. Oh, my back. All right, I got beer, everything. Cool. Bug. Oh, well, whatever. Anyways, that being said, though, yeah, like, he's doing a good job with this. Gina, what's a hopper? It's a bug that can fly. They call them hoppers.
The M240 again, we take our 16,800 total rounds, divide them by 15 for the warrior bug, which gives us 1,120, which is just over half the assessed warrior bug force. Not great, not terrible. Putting aside ammunition for a second, we can also use our previous planning figures of 50 hoppers, 2,000 warriors, and 5 tankers to calculate the theoretical kills required per user or weapon system. If we divide the 2,000 warriors by our 14 total M240s, each gun team must kill 142 warriors to deplete the swarm, which sounds like a lot, but let's circle back to this later. Using doctrinal rates of fire, we can also somewhat predict how long we can stay in the fight before going Winchester and ammunition. These rounds per minute refer to the sustained rate.
He said Winchester. Oh my God. Okay, maybe he's not your average troop. Maybe not. Because Winchester, from my time in service, was one of the code phrases used while you're in enemy territory to let somebody know that you were, low on ammo, or that you had a malfunction or something and that your weapon system is down. So it's very interesting. Not just all of your average troops are going to know that, because they're just going to call stuff out. They're just going to say, I'm reloading, or, I'm swapping magazines or some shit like that, or I got a malfunction, or I got a jam. Right. But yeah, just, man. Interesting.
Rate of fire applied by the machine gunners, as opposed to the mechanical or cyclic rate of fire of the weapon. Ergo, 100 rounds per minute on the M240 might see the gunners firing 6 10-round bursts, with a 5-second pause between to prevent barrels overheating and wasting ammunition. Using these rates, we can then divide our total rounds by our total guns, and then again by our rounds fired per minute, which will give us our time in minutes of sustained fire, which we can see here for the M240 is 12 minutes, with some other weapons such as the M320s running out of 40mm grenades after only 2.5 minutes of sustained fire. At a glance, this meagre amount of time sounds concerning. However, these theoretical figures don't consider that not all M320 users will be firing at the exact same time, or that the machine gun teams such as the M240s typically work in pairs and fire their bursts in staggered sequence, thereby effectively doubling the time they can support a fire plan. You might be thinking it's not looking good for the Marines right now, but we haven't yet accounted for our greatest casualty producing weapons, our high explosives. Let's assume the Claymores and low velocity 40mm score 2 bug kills per detonation, or round. The 84 Airburst 5, the Mark 19 3, and the 81mm mortars 6 kills per bomb. Using the mortar, let's multiply our total rounds by our average kills per round, which gives us the disgusting figure of 2,400 dead warrior bugs, a testament to the lethality of mortars on tightly grouped enemies. These are pretty conservative numbers, and it's perfectly fair to the bug, considering in their densely packed formation, I think it's highly plausible a single mortar could kill upwards of 10 warriors per bomb. Remember before when I said the M240s would kill only half of the warrior swarm? Well, in practical execution, we can see the high explosive weapons pick up more than enough slack to destroy the arachnid army, with a theoretical casualty rate of 4,640 warrior bugs from these 4 weapon systems alone, and that's without a single of the remaining riflemen firing a shot. Now, of course, these numbers are speculative, but it lets us somewhat answer the question of, do the Marines have enough ammo? To which the answer is, Kind of. While perhaps not strictly having enough rifle or machine gun ammo, their fire plan can still succeed due to the integration of high explosives and the nature of the enemy swarm, meaning the bugs sustain mass casualties at an extremely rapid rate. And let's not forget, this entire video is about providing a force and plan that can actually win the battle. So if planning reveals the loadout is insufficient, I can simply cast level 10 editor and grant a double ammunition perk to the defending Marines.
Gina, 400 rounds kills 4,600. Wowzers. Yeah, you can do a lot with different weapon systems. Just saying. But yeah, you know, like I said earlier, for myself at least, I don't know if every unit did this, but I've heard of quite a few doing so. If I was carrying 7.62, and I was going to carry some kind of belt fed, right? Doing any kind of that, especially with my Mark 48. I loved that gun. It was so good. It was so fun too. And with it tweaked just a bit, it fires real fast, something like 1,500 rounds a minute. It's real quick. But yeah, if I was carrying my 48. Or, you know, maybe our M64 or something like that. You know, then I'd carry by myself at least 2,000 rounds. Or if I didn't have enough space, 1,500. Non-negotiable. I'd carry that much by myself. So by myself, I was carrying more 7.62 than the 240 Bravo teams are for the Marines. In fact, I was carrying almost twice as much by myself. If I was carrying 5.56, right? Personally, I'd have 310 rounds on me. If I can stretch it that far, over 500 rounds, 5.56 on me. That's including magazines that are speedballed into like some, other places. But I'd have magazines for days. So by myself, I was carrying twice as much as these guys are. So yeah, that's just a little bit of nitpicking I've got there. Now granted, not everybody is as gifted as I am to be a human tree trunk. And was born with stamina for years. Apparently I'm a real beastly savage. But yeah, like, so, while I was in, Gina, what, Army or what? Yeah, Army. Army. All the way. This will defend. But yeah. But that's how much I carried while I was in the Army. Or if I didn't have enough space, I had everyone else carry extra ammo also. I'd much rather count the rounds coming back than count the bodies. That was my thing. Any Jew. But yeah, so I mean, that's another thing that, kind of gets me with his numbers. Because by myself, I carried twice as much as their fully functional, like, troops individually and as a team, a gun team. So, yeah, it's a bit different. Thank you for your service, sir. Salute. Some crazy person has to do it. Anyway, let's continue.
that can actually win the battle. So if planning reveals the loadout is insufficient, I can simply cast level 10 editor and grant a double ammunition perk to the defending Marines.
This is for you new people. I only have one rule. Everyone fights, no one quits. If you don't do your job, I'll shoot you. You get me?
Part 5. The Battle Sim. With the planning out of the way, let's see how this battle might play out. The scenario begins with Marines pre-positioned inside Whiskey Outpost. Their mission, defend the compound at all costs. Just to spice up the challenge, they won't have immediate access to their external supporting fires, so will have to hold their own until the aviation arrives. Maybe the radios are down, or maybe the F-35 pilots are sleeping off Big Night at the Fleet Cantina. Who knows? All we know is that friendly help will be fashionably late to the party. Courtesy of the UAV screen, the Arachnid swarm can be detected early, giving time for the defenders to man their positions and steel themselves to the fight. The bugs swarm through the canyon like a wave, with warriors leading the charge towards the two valley entrances. Although they're comfortably in range of the mortars, the limited ammunition means every round must count, so the Marines need to wait until the swarm is densely packed to achieve maximum bug kills per bomb. As the swarm flows into the valley, the heavy machine guns begin targeting the choke points. The 50 cal teams work in pairs, ensuring a continuous stream of fire is maintained and cover each other during reloads or barrel changes. The Mark 19s also begin their engagement and bombard both TRP Carmen and Dizzy with sustained 40mm high explosive round.
Gina, what movie was that? Never seen it. Which one are you referencing? Are you referencing me or something else? You gotta be specific. Mango, Starship Trooper is my beloved. Yes, all of this is about Starship Troopers, but this is a scenario where, you know, it's 2,000 Starship Troopers bugs versus 2,000 United States Marines. It's a hypothetical scenario drawn up using real strategy and tactics based upon modern military doctrine versus bugs from Starship Troopers.
Although the Arachnids take heavy casualties at these choke points, the swarm is still able to surge into the valley, clambering over the piles of dead warrior bugs. Flowing toward the compound, the M240 teams begin their engagement. By interlocking the arcs and firing across their direct front, the machine gunners can achieve oblique fire onto the Arachnid formation, creating more casualties per burst and allowing the heavy machine guns to continue engaging the depth of the swarm. This engagement plan requires battlefield discipline by the gun teams.
Now, where's my Mark 19s? Where's my Mark 19s at? Because they should have opened up actually before. No, right after, at least, the heavy machine guns. So the 50 cals. So I wonder what's going on.
Marines place trust in their mates to support their front, and vice versa. Small clusters of warriors that escape the killing grounds can be engaged by Marine riflemen and M320 40mm as they approach the walls, leaving the heavy machine guns and AGLs to continue targeting the choke points. These choke points are enhanced by the heavy guns creating an ever-growing pile of Arachnid carcasses, which further slows the swarm as it enters the valley. Tightening these bottlenecks has the second-order effect of tightly condensing the bugs to the rear as they clamber to enter the valley. This is the trigger for both the 84mm airburst and mortars, and using the UAVs to adjust fire, they engage mortar targets Radchek and Xander behind the front line of the swarm, creating mass casualties among the center of the Arachnid formation. The effectiveness of this fire plan compounds over time, as killing bugs at the back reduces the numbers they can push to the front, and killing bugs at the front enhances the obstacle and hinders the bugs to the rear. As the barrage of high explosive thins the herd, the Arachnids already in the valley lose much needed depth to their swarm, and are easily destroyed by the medium machine guns working TRP Zim. While the bloodlusted Marines celebrate their early success, the Arachnids realize they're facing unsustainable attrition, and rapidly communicate a shift in strategy, perhaps orchestrated by the brain bug from deep under the surface. Pushing their tankers to the front, they use the hulking beasts as mobile shields, and protect the warriors stacked to the rear from fire. On sighting the tankers, the Marine 84 gunners scramble to reload their Carl Gustavs with heat rounds. This momentarily pauses the airburst barrage, and provides the bugs in depth a reprieve from the lethal shower of fragmentation. Destroying the tankers at distance is critical, as letting them approach the compound means they can batter down the walls, or spray the Marines with napalm.
Well, the thing is that if you're a good like a real good shot, you can stretch the range of that thing up to a click easy. But to nail a target, like, yeah, you know what? About 1,000 meters, maybe, if you're real good with it. Especially if you're trying to use AT. Gina, they would be first platoon, right? Narrated, skipped, maybe. Not sure what you're referencing. Oh wait, no. They're in the weapons platoon, essentially. But yeah, no. So for the Mark 19s, well, then again, I'm thinking of it from my own brain and what I would do, not what's going on. Not with what's going on here. Mango. Well, this is working within the book's specifications for accuracy. Yeah, I keep forgetting that. Because I keep thinking of what I would do, what I know of the weapons capabilities and such like that. But anyway, we need to continue.
Loaded the AT rounds, the Marines engaged the tankers, the Carl Gustav gunners launching volley after volley until the 4 tankers leading the charge succumbed to the explosive damage, but not before the beasts managed to punch through the breach and into the open valley, allowing the massive warriors behind them to swarm once more. Further capitalizing on their break-in, a wave of hopper bugs begins buzzing towards the compound. The anti-air squad fire their M27 skywards, and the Marines on the tower use their elevated position to engage the incoming airborne threats. Although many hoppers are destroyed, some manage to close within the compound and dive bomb towards the Marines on the wall, inflicting casualties among the machine gunners with their razor-sharp claws before they can be downed. As the Marines scramble to replace the dead gunners from the reserve squads, the Arachnids sense the lull in the heavy machine gun fire and reconsolidates the swarm inside the valley, ready to press the attack once more.
At most, from my experience with these things, at most it would only take about 10 seconds to get someone else on the guns. We even have drills for it called the Dead Gunner. And in the Dead Gunner, it's exactly what it sounds like. They give you the scenario where your gunner is dead. And you could be anywhere. You could be in the turret of the truck. You could be on the ground and stuff. But yeah, but for Dead Gunner, what you do is you grab their body, and any way, shape, or form you have to do it, you throw them out of the way. And, you know, in some cases, you'll have a coordinated effort where you jump to get on the gun and someone else rolls the body away. But yeah, so yeah, it wouldn't take that long to get another gunner in real life. Mango, this is using the only standard procedures for weapons, so ranges are variable, but books say do one thing. That's the most standard consistent numbers, just so simulation doesn't get the actually guys in the comments. Okay, I got you.
Though the hoppers are still harassing the personnel on the walls, the machine gun team stay disciplined and maintain their sectors of fire in depth. However, the bugs continue their advance, and the Marine riflemen begin engaging warriors closing in on the compound. As the anti-air squad destroy the last of the hoppers, the Marines take stock of the situation. They've suffered multiple kills in action from the air attack, noticeably reducing the output of machine gun fire, and as a result, the swarm is thundering towards their position. With a breach imminent, the Marines make the decision to enact the final protective fire. This shifts the mortars from engaging the rear of the Arachnid formation to dropping a barrage of HE rounds within danger close limits using FPF Zegama Beach. Firing on rapid rate, the remaining machine gunners and Mark 19 gunners enact FPF Ace, and a wall of lead and explosives begins annihilating the warriors approaching the outpost. Although the FPF rapidly consumes ammunition, the densely packed Stampede is a prime target for the casualty-producing mortar fragmentation, and hundreds of warriors are destroyed in seconds. Having regained the initiative, the Marines are afforded a tactical breath and take the moment to repack fresh dips of Copenhagen and resume their sustained rate machine gun and mortar fire plan focused on the
Copenhagen. No, I was more of a Grizzly or Kodiak kind of guy. He says Copenhagen though.
the arachnid depth. Dozens of warriors still make it to the walls, but unable to scale piles of corpses, they lack the mass for a breach and are steadily eliminated by rifle fire, grenades, and claymores. Just as the tide has seemingly turned in favour of the defenders once more, the ground begins to shake and the floor of the outpost cracks as the final tanker erupts through the metal flooring. The QRF squad races to the breach, grenades and rifles at the ready. Hastily surveying the interior, the tanker turns its attention to the mortar team and unleashes a stream of napalm, incinerating the nearest mortar squad before they can race for cover in the building. The anti-digging squad dumps magazine after magazine into the tanker on full auto as the two grenadiers launch 40mm rounds, desperately trying to down the giant before it can escape the hole. The 40mm grenades eventually find their mark, detonating on the lightly armoured head, and the tanker collapses back into the tunnel. With the hulking corpse plugging the breach, the Marines throw fragmentation grenades into the hole for good measure, putting the tanker down for good, and blocking the entry point to any warrior bugs using the tunnel. Although they successfully prevented the tunnel breakthrough, the mortar platoon casualties are immense, and detecting the lull in the bombardment, the remaining warriors surge towards the outpost, determined to overwhelm it once and for all. With many casualties among the key weapon systems, and the swarm closing in, the situation is dire, and the fire support team is now the final hope to save the outpost, and hastily begin working up their integration plan. First come the HIMARS rockets. Firing the M30A1 warhead, the rockets explode in airburst fashion, showering the depth formations of the bugs with fragmentation. With each rocket containing over 180,000 tungsten ball bearings, there's plenty to go around, and the densely packed warriors are rapidly thinned out. Once the artillery barrage lifts, next comes the F-35s, streaking towards the outpost from the north. Their close air support comes by way of 25mm gun runs, firing armor-piercing ammunition at over 3,000 rounds per minute. Strafing the length of the valley, they inflict devastating casualties among the surviving warriors from the artillery strike. With the fixed-wing close air support complete, the Viper gunships are cleared to enter the airspace and tear through the bugs with Hydra rocket strafing runs.
He's even taking into account asset stacks. This dude gets it. This dude gets it. Asset stacking is essentially where you've got stuff that's like not directly within your immediate control. So like your indirect fire, like artillery, the HIMARS and all of that, missile artillery, and then that can even include stuff like ship, based weaponry, like tomahawks, and there's even still in the manuals how to call in a shore battery bombardment, which is just funny to me. Who knows? We might bring it back sometime. But yeah, this is really good. Very, very close to the book. It's amazing the attention to detail you put into these.
Before letting loose with 20mm cannon fire, further wiping out arachnids within the engagement area. With these supporting fires finally on station and doing the heavy lifting, there's not much left for the Marines to do, except cheer and watch the air show. The air support departs with dozens of bugs remaining, but the depleted and fragmented swarm has lost the critical mass needed to sustain the assault, and the medium and heavy machine guns mow down the remaining warrior bugs. So there you have it. The answer to the question, what would it take for the US Marines to defend Whiskey Outpost? To which I posit a beefed up infantry company plus air support could comfortably get the job done. I will concede the biggest tactical dilemma is the tanker bugs and their tunneling attack. It's a very prickly action to counter, so if you've got a creative solution for the tunnels, I'm curious to hear it. Let me know in the comments. Also, a final big thanks to War Thunder for sponsoring the chaos that was this video, and a reminder that you can check it out right now on PC and consoles, absolutely free using the below links. War Thunder is a great way to brush up.
Well, hey, Drew. For me, the tunneling thing, I would apportion like Carl Gustavs would be able to do that job pretty easily. Carl Gustav fire like maybe 2 rounds, maybe 3, but that big thing's toast. Well, anyway, that was pretty cool.
On your AFE recognition skills, and also remember that if you're new or if you've been AWOL for 6 months,
that was pretty cool. So from CSRC, 2,000 bugs versus 200 Marines. Starship Troopers with real tactics. It was pretty cool. I liked it. What'd y'all think? What'd y'all think? Me, I was pretty pleased. It was pretty neat. Gina, pretty awesome. Yeah, it was pretty awesome, wasn't it? Although I am surprised, that's the real numbers they pulled. Then again, where the U.S. military is notorious for underselling itself consistently. So maybe the ammunition thing is just what they just threw out there as like a number to give for publication purposes. You know what I mean? It's kind of like, yeah, we totally only have, 50 rounds of 7.62. We actually have 350, but I mean, if everybody else thinks we only have 50, I mean, they might not think twice. You know what I'm saying? Kind of like how they said after like a week of fighting in Iran, we'd be out of ammunition for the ships. And yet they've been firing nonstop for basically a couple months now. Supposedly we're running out. I mean, I'm just saying. I'm just saying. But yeah, it is really cool. I knew the Marines would win. Not so easily though. That even for an enemy that doesn't shoot you, it's not easy. Well, I need you. Fire Mango. Anyways, fellas. Yes, anyways, indeed. Well, this was fun. It was pretty great. It's a 2-hour long stream. Yeah, same here. Same here. Tired. Well, anyway, thank you. I appreciate it. That being said, be good. Be safe. Make good life for yourselves. Don't compromise safety and security for nobody and nothing. Death and disaster is only a second away. Do what you can today. And I'll see y'all in the next one. I am Badger 7 Actual, the formerly homeless veteran, Blast Cat Badger, out. Good night, everybody. Thank you for joining me. Thank you, Gina. See you next time.